Hello, welcome to Confronting the Darkness. I'm Rob Jacobs, and with me tonight, Father Bob Bailey. Welcome, Father.
Thank you.
I think first it's important to explain what this show is really going to be about, what our goals are. With Haunted Happenings, we tried to get information out dealing with hauntings and paranormal activity that happened with the groups and people. On Confronting the Darkness, we're going to be dealing mainly with demonic issues, people that are dealing with the negative and demonic influence and oppression. So tonight, I think spiritual battle is important to talk about, educating the public and people in the paranormal field. So maybe we can talk a little bit about the education portion of it.
Sure. I think one of the blessings that's come out of the ministry that sprang up as you and I joined forces in the spiritual battle is to educate people that there is a difference between the paranormal and the demonic. The paranormal meaning spirits and ghosts, and attempting to confront something of evil.
Exactly.
And that education really isn't out there. So when you decide to do this is something I think that's so necessary, and that people would appreciate, particularly in the paranormal community,
right,
as they probably will encounter something negative at some point if they're doing it for any amount of time.
I think it's fair to say too, in today's age, where what we're dealing with now is so much more negative and dark than even 5 years ago, maybe even longer than that. But a lot of the groups that are going in are assuming, for the most part, that they're dealing with either something human that walked this earth, and not really understanding, and I've heard it from some people out there that are in the field, that they don't believe that there's a lot of demonic activity out there. And we've found, especially in what we do with the network and our ministry, that there is quite a bit of the demonic influence and activity going on. So for some of them, it is important to understand the difference in how to deal with a demonic case as opposed to a standard haunting that is with a human spirit.
Exactly. And I think one of the reasons, too, is that people who may already suspect that they have something negative or demonic will more gravitate towards contacting somebody with clergy in their group.
Right.
And so that might be why that other groups may not be getting calls in for that at this point, because they would, a good number of them, at least in our experience, they've called because there's clergy involved in our ministry. So.
Right. I think that we should give them some credit as well, because they've actually realized that this is something beyond their capability.
Yes.
And they've thought it through and realized it's not necessarily a good idea for them to go into something that could be dangerous, not only for them, but for the clients. And they've made the wise decision to try and contact you or some of the other clergy that are in the PWSM network.
And I think, too, on even my Facebook page with the PWSM ministry, that we have so many good groups represented in there that really want to learn,
right, and
that are really mature in how they understand the difference between a possible demonic haunt or a possible human spirit. And unfortunately, there are other groups that lack that type of maturity and discretion and experience. But I'm happy to say that I've just encountered so many great representatives of good, solid paranormal groups that want to learn, that want to protect themselves, that want to give some education to their clients, and want to even be empowered, right, and learn how to confront the darkness. And so kudos to so many paranormal groups out there who are joining in the spirit of that, joining in the mission of PWSM.
How many do you think we have in the ministry? It's the network. I'm sorry, the network.
Well, official groups in the network, we probably have like at least 40. I haven't counted, but at least 40 groups, if not more.
And we have clergy.
We have some clergy. You know, we don't have as many clergy right now, but the listing is big because some of the groups cover different states, and so how we have them listed, not on the website but on our own listings, is by state.
Right.
And that's a long list.
And I think we've seen the benefit to this already. Of course, we get emails and calls on a pretty regular basis from people all around the United States that are having issues of a dark or a negative or demonic or a sinister nature, and they don't know where to turn. And they may have already had some paranormal groups in, and they haven't gotten any real help to remove it. And once they're getting in touch with us, if we're not able to make it, because of the network, we do have other groups that are maybe a little better prepared to deal with something of that nature, and we have some clergy, across the United States that may be closer than we are, which is a help for not only them but for us as well.
Right, and I think it's the goal of our ministry. Again, while we're growing, we're still a modest group, and the sad thing, and I know you share that with me, is when we don't have network affiliates in different states, because we're not all over the country now.
Right.
And we have to tell them we don't know of any clergy or groups that are there that can handle that. So, it's where it's growing. We're not everywhere.
Right.
But our mission is to empower groups to know what to do, and that's the second best thing that we can do. And that's why we're working on we'll be working on that documentary. We'll be working on training videos. We're excited about having those at the disposal of groups and even individuals who want to learn how to protect.
I'm glad you brought up especially the training, because that's something that we're working on now for individuals with paranormal groups that are looking to be trained and learn how to deal with the demonic cases as opposed to a haunting of a human spirit or something of that nature. And then the documentary, of course, is going to be mainly how the liberation is performed, and basically from phone call or email to consulting with whoever the client may be, to hopefully the end result, which is clearing the place of whatever dark or demonic energy or entity is there. So those are two very important things. And we have the one coming up in September, will be actually the first official training in Virginia. So we're looking forward to that. And that should be really enjoyable to meet the several groups that are going to be there.
And that's our opportunity to begin to teach them what we do, what they can do, and go through actually the steps of how do we do a house cleansing? How can they, as lay people, do a house cleansing as opposed to a clergyman, clergy person? And also, what to expect, how important prayer is, to give them some rituals that they can do, prayer rituals, because, they may not know. And what I take for granted, what Rob may take for granted, may be all new territory to people, and invaluable information. So we're very excited about this first one. We're getting our feet wet, and we thank 333 Paranormal, Crystal Porous, for actually wanting to test us out with that. With that being said, it's tough for us because I'm a pastor. I got my parish duties. I'm also part-time hospital chaplain, part-time fire chaplain. And it's very difficult for me to get away, especially on weekends, because this is a volunteer thing that we're doing. So we ask people to be patient in that, this is not our full-time jobs, that we're doing this as a service, but we have to do this on our own time.
That's important that you mentioned that as well, that you are in charge of the church full-time, and you have all these other hats that you're wearing, and that doing the ministry and the network, we're not always available. We've come into contact with other individuals that I guess they kind of assume that this is all we do, and unfortunately it's not. We have other things in our lives that are just as important. And
that are primary.
Right.
missions.
To be able to help when we can is wonderful, and that's why the network is become so beneficial. Because if we can't get there, obviously we try to have somebody that can, and we still run into situations where we just don't have anybody that can get there. And I think we've said it numerous times. We don't charge for any of the services that we do. However, on occasion we may have to ask for either some reimbursement for gas or try and get accommodations to get us there. And it's about as fair as you can get.
And even that, we're limited now because of my duties that I just can't get away, to go to every state in the union.
No.
I've been kind of restricted to being local, and then trying to get people help who live further away.
Right. I think another topic we could talk about along the lines of the training of the groups. Not only is it important to train them on how to deal with the demonic and the darker side of things, but also that there is a retaliation factor that will come with this, and it's something that they really need to understand that it's real. We go through retaliation of many kinds all the time, and it's something that can become very overwhelming, and if you're not ready to take on that, then you should not be doing that type of work.
Yes, and I think that's the exciting part about this program, is that all that can be broken down into, in each segment that we do, that we can not only, that hopefully, you get people in who've had experiences, which is always great, their own testimony, but also to use this as a teaching mechanism too for people on the different subjects.
Right.
Because we could, the possibilities of speaking on this whole subject are endless, really.
You're right.
Really.
There's a lot to it. I mean, and it's funny too, because I think we've said this several times. We learn something new every time we go into a place. It could be something very small, and then, there's other times where it's like, wow, we never thought of doing that. And I think we've tweaked how things are run several times. And it's usually for the better.
Yeah, every time we do a case, I think it's a learning experience, and we see what can we do better, we tweak it. And I think what we're doing now is like eons more orderly, eons more, just smooth. But all of that is trial and error, because what we're doing is not something that's being done a lot out there. So, which is why we moved from the paranormal model, which all really that was out there for us at the time, now to the demonic spiritual battle, which is totally different, and we have to consider it totally different than paranormal investigation.
I think that's where the training is going to be beneficial to a lot of the people in the field, because we have witnessed other things that have gone on, and obviously I'm not going to say any names of anybody, but it wasn't run smoothly, and I'll leave it at that. And even when we started, it wasn't run smoothly because we weren't following a good format. We were going along the lines of investigations, which was nice at the time. I mean, actually a learning experience.
Absolutely.
And
gave us, or at least gave me as a priest, an appreciation for paranormal investigation, which the groups will do, and yet that's not what this ministry needs to engage in any longer. But it's beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see the value in the investigation.
Right, and as a paranormal investigator for 4 or 5 years or whatever it was, that's the only thing I knew. And once I had crossed over from doing the investigations to doing the spiritual warfare and liberations, it was hard for me to start moving away from what I was so used to doing. I mean, there's just a whole different way of doing things. You're not so much going in even for the evidence anymore. You're taking what is hopefully solid evidence, as solid as it can be, coming from either a group that's worked on it already and the client, and now is the part where you're trying to deal with what's there. Not just, we're not validating anymore. Now it's moved on to, okay, now how do we get this out of here? And it doesn't stop there. With us, the clients themselves have to kind of take another step forward, take a stand of their own, and really it's about training them too on how to deal with it after the fact.
Right, and how we look at it, even the name PWSM, Paranormal Warriors of St. Michael, you know, we began through the paranormal model, and it is paranormal what we do in that it's out of the normal. You know, we're dealing with spiritual things, so it falls under the title of paranormal, strictly speaking. But we're also doing battle. We're also warriors of St. Michael, and so that's what we concentrate on. We have become become those who will confront the darkness, and we are unabashedly coming from a Christian philosophy, a Christian ministry, and Catholic Christian, because I'm a Catholic priest, and I think that we have a treasure trove of experience of, you know, the demonic from the time of Jesus all the way through now, through spiritual warfare, through the saints who give us examples of confronting evil, and so we've really made our ministry succinct, focused, and I believe powerful.
Yeah, and it's very much more organized than what it was. And there was one thing I wanted to touch on, because I am a layman, I'm a lay person. I'm not a minister by any means. And we actually got a question from a good paranormal group out there, if they themselves can go in and if they're dealing with a demonic case, can they try and cast out whatever demonic spirits are there? And I told them, yes, absolutely. You know, it's said that, you know, if we use in Jesus' name, we have the power to cast out demons. Right. So, and they were a great group. You know, we worked with them a couple times.
Oh, sure.
And it was great that they actually, you know, came and asked if that were possible, rather than just going in and trying to do it, not knowing, you know.
Right.
But I wanted to make it clear that, you know, obviously you're a Catholic priest, pastor, but I am in no way a minister. I know that the question had arisen at some point, but I am not. So I just want that to be clear to anybody, that I do not propose to be a minister. And
but I think that based on our baptism, our common baptism into Jesus Christ, that, you know, he did send his disciples out to confront evil. Now, you know, the church reserves exorcism over a person, and we'll go into that in detail.
Right.
But just in generally, that, you know, exorcism over a person is a very dangerous thing that has to be, you have to be given permission. There has to be some preliminary things. But for all other things like infestation or oppression, or, you know, sensing evil in the home and all of that, that's all part of our baptism. You don't necessarily have to be a priest, but you have to have Christian faith.
Right.
You have to be a committed Christian to be able to do this. You know, I have friends, you know, who are of other religions, non-Christian religions, and they're wonderful people. But when they do a cleansing, they would have to do their own, because they couldn't do it in the name of Jesus if they're not professed Christians. Just like I could not do a Wiccan cleansing,
right,
because it's not my faith, it's not what I follow,
right,
and it wouldn't have an effect. So, you know, and I think that's the interesting thing is we do try to through this ministry reach out in the way that we know, which is from a Christian background, to empower paranormal groups, that they at least have one person or two people of faith that they can go in. And I've made up that lay persons. I took quite a bit of time and gathered some things together, so that if there's no clergy, and that does happen, who are able to help, that they would be empowered with prayers to help confront the darkness for their clients.
Well, and the individual that actually got in touch with me was of a, you know, a strong belief and faith, as I am, and I think that is most important for anybody who's going to try and do this sort of stuff. Faith, you really have to have it from a Catholic background in order to do it, or Christian. If you don't have the faith, you know, you can say the words mean nothing if there's no faith behind it. So I think that's very important, and, you know, common sense and reasoning, of course.
Well, you know, I mean, it's not magic.
Right.
What we do is all based on faith You know, there are some traditions that believe in magic, but for us, it's faith.
Right.
Faith behind. If you hold a cross up and you have no, you know, up to an entity, and you don't believe in the salvation of Jesus Christ and that He's Lord and Savior, that cross means nothing.
Right.
It's not magic. It's the faith behind it that empowers that object.
And that's actually a great topic for another show.
Oh, it will be.
Going into that.
Yeah, we're just throwing these things out, and
Right.
it'd be nice to be able to flush them out
Right.
by topic, you know.
Yeah, I mean, as the first show that we're doing for Confronting the Darkness, and it's been nice that you've actually thrown that out there a few times as we confront the darkness, because that's what we do on a regular basis. We're confronting some form of darkness every time we go out and try to help somebody. And we do have, I want to throw this out there while I'm thinking about it, a website where you can get information, and that's pwsm-ri.org. There's prayers on there. There's information about the network and the ministry. So it's a great source for, you know, just getting the prayers alone.
Right, and it's been a labor of love for me putting that together, and I've gotten a lot of compliments because again, it's a teaching tool. Okay, like, you know, say you feel like you're being cursed. There are prayers there to say. There are prayers for paranormal groups before they go into an investigation, after they get an investigation, prayers against retaliation. There are, you know, even Christian paranormal phenomenon, because, you know, paranormal phenomenon has been in the church since the resurrection, because it's, again, paranormal is out of the normal realm. And so it's even got the ritual for lay people to help do spiritual battle is in there, as well as long as for clergy. So it's chock full of information that I've pulled together from so many sources over these years.
Right.
And hopefully, you know, it'll be a source of enlightenment to a lot of people.
Well, I'll say from my own point of view, and not because we work together, but I have done a couple of liberations on my own using the layperson's liberation, the ritual that you had. And from the clients themselves, fortunately, you know, it turned out very well, and doing the layman's blessing, it worked. I mean, I do have faith, so I'm assuming that's why, and I believe the people that we were working with also had strong faith. So, not that, you know, because we're working together, I'm not giving a plug on it, but it really is a nice ritual, and it did seem to work very, very well just for a layperson doing it. So that's another thing for groups out there. If, you know, you can't get a hold of clergy, that is there, and it's something you could print out and use as long as you do have, you know, the faith yourself. Very important stuff. Good stuff, too. You know, we could talk briefly about how we actually met all those years ago.
Fateful day. Yes, the way we met basically was, at the time, I was involved helping local groups with spiritual battle, but also working on Paranormal State. When that was around with Ryan, working in some cases with them in some of the seasons. And then I guess you guys wanted to get in touch with me for the show.
Well, truthfully, I didn't really know who you were at the time. the co-founder of the group. No, I knew
definitely
who you were.
didn't know who he was.
Nobody knew who I was. We did know, and the co-founder of the group at the time recognized and realized that you were one state away, and thought it would be great to be able to have the opportunity to have you come on and speak about your experiences. And from there, we just seemed to click. And
right after we did the show together, it was a great experience, and we got along from the get-go. And then I had an experience of a demonic entity. And so, again, working under the investigation model, which is what we had your group come over at the time and do an investigation. We caught some information, and then the liberation, and that's how we started to work together. And then, slow but sure, we worked hand in hand. And when cases started coming my way, in the beginning, we would always have an investigation first.
Right.
And so, you and I just became close, and then you started your interest in the spiritual battle, about going deeper with faith and confronting evil.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting because I enjoyed doing the paranormal investigations, and you know, we did it for quite a while. And once we started doing the darker cases, you know, it was something that I just knew it was a road I was supposed to be traveling. That's all I can say. And I'm glad I did. You know, I've really restored a lot of my faith. It's really, really strong now. Not that I, you know, wasn't a Catholic, and not that I didn't believe, just that seeing what we've you know, experienced, and
it'll do one or two things: scare you away, or
Yeah.
make you closer to the faith.
Right.
You know, and it definitely is something that you know your faith is something that has to be rooted and strong, or else you don't stand a chance of
No.
of being effective, or even being able to deal with the retaliation that comes.
Right.
So many people say, we want to do what you're doing, and we're going to get into that at some point.
Yeah.
You know, these fads now, you know, going demonology, spiritual battle, now everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon. They don't realize what it takes and what we have to bear,
Right.
the burden of retaliation, you know, that affects us, affects those who are married, their families, and you have to all be in agreement.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and realize that, you know, you're gonna receive spiritual attacks.
Yeah.
You know,
And
and
it can be
I don't
overwhelming.
think a lot would be able to handle that.
No, I mean, some of the we've really experienced some rough times from many different avenues, and you know, I know
And we
not
can-
everything is, but
Right, and we
you
can
know,
go over that too, because it's not like the devil comes in the pitchfork,
No.
but you know, you find your life just so much all of a sudden breaking down, going wrong, and it's like this doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
There's
And
just
then you
more
go,
to it.
you know,
Yeah.
we have a deliverance, house liberation coming up. We just got done with one. We're going to be doing something in education, and now,
Yeah,
you know, the other side is trying to
sway us, stop
sway
us.
or just show its ugly head that it's not happy.
Right. I think the other thing what we do is the protection before, on the day of, and after.
And after.
It's very important. And that's something, again, for another show. And
Sure.
unfortunately, we are up against the clock already. It's amazing that a half hour's gone by this fast. So I do want to put out there that we do have another website. It's tauntingparanormal.webs.com, and there you can see episodes of Haunted Happenings, and I'm also going to be airing the first episode of Confronting the Darkness and future episodes on there as well for those of you that don't live in the area and don't get this channel. So we'll be available online. I also want to thank you again, Father Bob, for
You're
being
welcome.
here, and hopefully this will be a regular thing for the both of us. And we're going to be having, like we had mentioned, other groups and some guests that have experienced things firsthand and get their accounts when they've had to confront the darkness. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for watching. We hope you tune in again, and that's going to do it. Have a good night.